Steve Sarkeesian got the raise and extension that I expected him to get, but it wasn't his annual salary that really got my attention. It was Johnny Nansen's. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round, even in February, where it feels like it's as dead as it's going to be all year. For our sport, there's still some news that happens here, and every now and again, there's a segment that I just want to do. I love this format. I came up in sports talk radio hosting the RJ Young Show from 9 to 11 a.m. on the Sports Animal, and I was doing Sunday mornings is me up against 10 a.m. service. Tell you who won that one. It wasn't me. Getting my work in, right? And I really love this format because you get to know me, and it's long-winded, and I genuinely believe that being a solo sports talk show host is one of the most difficult jobs in entertainment, but I love it so much. Because you get to sink your teeth into, the big stories, like who's going to win the Super Bowl? Are the Kelsey brothers going to retire together? Is Travis Kelsey going to be done now that his show has gone on hiatus for a little bit? You could do that. Or you could talk about the position coaches making all this loot in college football. So what we've seen is position coaches in college football have been at a premium, right? Coordinators too, for that matter. But position coaches have been making the leap from college football to the NFL pretty seamlessly. Here of late, Tashard Choice, running backs coach at Texas, now the running backs coach at the Detroit Lions, who looked for all the world like they might be winning the Super Bowl until they got absolutely destroyed by the Washington Commanders. My bad. Jaden Daniels did that work, not Sam Darnold, which lets you know you should always bet on Jaden Daniels and not so much on Sam Darnold. Anyway, point that I would raise here is that when it finally came time for us to find out just what Texas was willing to pay Steve Sarkeesian, it really wasn't all that much considering. He's 38-17, but that's really kind of burying the lead. He's made 2 college football playoffs, both in the 12-team and the 14, and he's played in back-to-back conference championship games. He's won one of those with the Big 12 and came up short against Georgia in the SEC championship before getting to the college football playoff Final Four again, only to get beat by the eventual national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. That said, he's in line for a raise and extension, like a lot of guys that achieve this level of success following the season. His extension gets him to 2031, but also raises his annual salary by about $100,000. So he's going to make about $10.4 at the end of this year, but by the end of the contract, he's going to make about $12.3 million. That's less than Ryan Day, who won the national championship. Now, I think if Steve Sarkeesian had won the national championship, his salary would make him one of the 2 highest paid college football coaches in the country. But this number puts you in the conversation as one of the top 10 coaches and makes it hard to keep you out of that group as the money continues to go up for the highest paid coaches in our sport. And that's one thing, right? But what got me thinking about this was I'm taking a look at Jim Knowles and what he was able to command on the market after Ohio State won the national championship with the best defense in college football. Ohio State was prepared to make him the highest paid coordinator in the sport, even after giving him a raise and an extension last year to recognize what he had done. What they were not willing to do was to overpay or outbid themselves, right? He was going to make around $2.75 million. Oklahoma was prepared to go a little bit higher than that. Penn State decided they were going to just dump everybody else and say, we'll give you $3.1 million just to come over here. All you got to do is call the defense. You don't have to coach positions at all. Jim Knowles, being from Philadelphia, so y'all want to keep telling me, took that job, and now he's defense coordinator at Penn State. Since then, Matt Patricia has taken over the job at Ohio State. But as I was waiting on just what it was going to mean at Texas, one of the really interesting notes to come down the line wasn't the, again, annual salary that Steve Sarkeesian was going to make. It is the annual salary that Johnny Nansen is going to make. So special teams coordinator Jeff Banks has been integral to success at Texas. Coordinators usually are, special teams included, right? Your defensive coordinator, and he is the offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkeesian is, even if Kyle Flood's got that title, right? Pete Kwiatkowski's the defensive coordinator. He's sewn up. So to know that Jeff Banks is going to get a raise that's going to get him close to $1.3 million, And then to look down and see linebackers coach, co-defense coordinator, but linebackers coach Johnny Nansen is going to make $1.2 million. It's not too shabby. And I was thinking to myself, what other position coaches, glorified or otherwise, I say glorified because Keenan Bailey's the co-offensive coordinator at Ohio State. He's also tight ends coach. But you know who the offensive coordinator is and calling plays, Brian Hartline. Same thing I think is true on Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. He's the architect. He was the guy that was the Broyles Award finalist, and I thought that he should have won the award. I thought he was the better defensive coordinator of that group that was up. Al Golden ends up winning the award. I'm fine with it. It's great. Notre Dame was a good defense, great defense at times. Fell just a little bit short in the national championship game. But it had me thinking Johnny Nansen hadn't been at Texas that long. As a matter of fact, he got there 2024 and has proven to be such a huge part of their success. I mean, you think about what Anthony Hill has meant to the Longhorns and what he's going to mean to them going forward, to say nothing of knowing what that defense front is like. But seeing position coaches making seven figures is not normal, guys. As a matter of fact, I think there's only 3 guys right now in college football who are making more than $1 million to coach positions. One of them is Bo Davis, who coaches defensive line at LSU, and they've been good, right? If you want to count Harold Perkins as part of that defensive line, you can. You want to talk about Patrick Payton coming in, you can. They've been able to turn out dudes. We know this, right? And we know what Bo Davis means in as far as recruiting over there. I mean, Hot Sauce can get it. That's Brad Smith. Hot Sauce is Brad Smith. Bo Davis is different. Bo Davis was also at Texas before he's at LSU. But I'm really knocking this up against guys like William Inge, who's linebackers coach at Tennessee. He's making about $720,000, right? And I've talked about what Bo Davis meant to Nick Saban at LSU in years past and what he meant to Texas when Steve Sarkeesian was there. But the guy that also got my attention was the cornerbacks coach at Ohio State, defense backs coach, if you will, Tim Walton, who was up to be a name that many like to be defense coordinator for Ohio State going into this season. And he makes $1.4 million. That's remarkable. That is a huge number for a position coach. And, you know, when you've got a guy that has been around since 2022, helped you achieve these heights, and has spent 11 seasons in the NFL coaching defensive backs, then, yeah, you get that moniker as being the Larry Johnson Sr. of your profession. But that's the other guy that I was looking for as I was doing all this work. Like, I know Drew Mehringer's quarterbacks coach at Oregon, or excuse me, tight ends coach at Oregon. He's worth about $600,000 to them. And you could talk about what James Coley might mean to Georgia. You could talk about what, who was on my mind just the other day? Not James Coley. Robert Gillespie, thank you. Running back coach at Alabama, what he's meant to them and how he's been able to turn out hitter after hitter. Running backs coaches, generally speaking, are your better recruiters because historically that's just been what it is. As a matter of fact, even right now, you could see folks at Oklahoma want Cale Gundy to return. I did a segment about Cale Gundy going away, and I was tearing up during it because I know how much that man means to Oklahoma, how much he has meant to, well, me having a pretty good, let's say, adolescence, right? Because when I was a teenager, all the way through my early 20s, Oklahoma was destroying people. It's only as I got into my late 30s that start to look like a dumpster fire. That's, I hope, coming to an end, coming to a change, but it also underscores just how important your position coaches are. Like Matt Luke is another guy. He's offensive line coach at Clemson. Many people had called him like the Andy Reid of offensive line. That used to be Bill Bedenbaugh at Oklahoma, but Matt Luke's making like $975,000 to coach offensive line. That's a big number, right? Offensive line coaches, I think, are the most important position coaches in football, just because if you can put that offensive line together, you can do a lot of things. Bill Bedenbaugh wasn't able to do it at Oklahoma. They go 6-7. Justin Fry made a patchwork offensive line into one that wins a national championship. That's the work you want. That's what Tyler Bowen is walking into. That's what you want to see from him and his group. But I did want to just take a moment to say Texas is not interested in being outbid, man. Like, Ohio State spent $11 million on their assistant coaching staff pool last year. I would not be surprised to see that number goes up. And you know what? Kudos to Steve Sarkeesian, because if it was as simple as I'll throw another $1 million, $2 million every year into getting the best and retaining the best assistants that I can, I'm going to do that. Like he lost Jeff Choate to be a head coach, and he filled it with Johnny Nansen. And to show his appreciation, he's now a 7-figure position coach. That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to be as we're talking about what this new modern college football is going to be. But I wanted to take that moment to say, yeah, Tim Walton means that much to you? Pay him. Pay that man his money. Johnny Nansen means that much to you? Pay him. Pay that man his money, because it is about winning at a high level.